My mom had multiple sclerosis. She had it for 6 years. She was diagnosed when I was in 2nd grade and then passed away when I was in 8th grade. It started out that she lost coordination. She was a very skilled tennis player, and she noticed that she wasn't playing as well as she had been. And then shortly after they noticed that she was having trouble playing tennis, she woke up one morning and was basically blind for about 48 hours. They went to the doctor referred her to Northwestern University. They took her down to Northwestern, and that's when they diagnosed her as having multiple sclerosis. In the beginning, it wasn't too different from normal life. After a couple of years, she started having difficulty walking. She had to start walking with a cane, and then that's progressed to walking with a walker. About a year after that, she was confined to a wheelchair, and then in the 6th year that she had the disease, she was bedridden and could not get out of bed. She was diagnosed in 1974, and there were some chemo treatments that she took, not the traditional cancer chemo, but more of a kind of medicine type of protocol. I don't know too much about that because I was pretty young and they didn't really discuss what the treatments were, but it was pretty limited treatment at that time. The short-term effects were loss of coordination, loss of vision, like I mentioned earlier, but that did eventually return, although her eyesight grew worse as she lived through the disease. Her speech was impacted at the end. She had trouble getting the signals from her brain to her mouth to say what she wanted to say. But the biggest thing is the lack of coordination, the ability to walk, and in the end she couldn't even sit up in bed without assistance from either a handrail or someone helping her sit up. She had the disease for 6 years, so in that respect it was a pretty quick transition, but the day-to-day effects of it weren't really too noticeable. It's not like it was, a short term over the span of a couple of weeks. It was
just all grouped up.
Yeah, it was over 6 years, so that was kind of the long term. And then in her case, long term was that she passed away from the disease about 6 years after she was diagnosed. My sister and I had to take on the responsibility of cooking meals. I was mostly the cook for dinners and things like that. My sister did much of the cleaning, and then on the weekends my dad, my sister and I would do the shopping and more of the cleaning and the laundry and things like that. So I didn't look at it really as a terminal illness. I didn't understand how the disease would progress with her. I did think that she would live longer than she did, and I didn't know what MS was until she was diagnosed, and then still it took a few years before I understood what was going on. So probably the first 3 or 4 years I didn't really have any concern that she was going to pass away from it, but then as she grew weaker and weaker and unable to walk and even sit up in bed, probably in the 5th and 6th year I realized that it might cause her to lose her life. The treatment options right now are much more advanced. I have a friend who's had MS for 15 years, and you can't even tell that she has it. She has different medical regimens that she goes through. She gets shots pretty frequently that seem to really lessen the impact of the disease, of the symptoms. And I think there's so much more known about multiple sclerosis now that my mom may have had a chance of living at least longer, if not, the full normal lifespan.